You would think by 2026, every brand already got the memo. Sound matters, consistency matters, ownership matters. But a global audit of brand audio just came back with a number that say otherwise. 61.9% of brand content right now still runs on stock music, not occasionally, as the default. So the real question isn't whether brand now sonic branding matters anymore. It's why knowing hasn't changed what they actually do. For a few years now, sonic branding has been sold as an obvious idea. Everyone nods along. Yes, sound is part of brand identity too. You'll already find a marketing lead who disagrees with that sentence out loud. But the report tracking that number wasn't measuring what people say in a survey. It was measuring actual behavior, campaign by campaign. And what it found was a shift, not a plateau. Brands moving further away from long-term sonic equity and further into something else, chasing whatever sounds right for this one campaign, then starting over completely for the next. That's not stock music problem by itself. Stock music is just symptom that easy to point at. The actual disease sits one level above it, in how sound gets budgeted in the first place, treated as an expense you clear per project, not an asset you build once and keep compounding. Fix the mindset and the stock music habit fixes itself. Fix the stock music habit alone and the mindset just finds a new symptom next quarter. Picture how this actually plays out inside a real marketing calendar. Q1 launches with a track license for that campaign. Q2 rebrand refresh bring in different composer, different mood. Q3 even sponsorship get its own commission sting, choosing whichever agency won that pitch. By Q4, a company has spent real money for spared times. Here's the part that actually explains the 61.9%, and it has nothing to do with taste. It's not that decision makers secretly think sonic identity is unimportant. Almost none of them would say that in a room. It's that sonic identity never wins the budget conversation once the room actually has to choose. Every campaign carries a deadline. That deadline carries a line item, and that line item has to justify itself against this quarter's numbers. This launch reached this specific campaign's conversion rate. Sonic equity doesn't work on that timeline. It compounds over years of consistent exposure, not over one 4-week launch cycle. So when budget season arrives and someone has to defend a number in front of leadership, projected reach for this campaign wins every single time against recognition well banked 3 years from now. There is now knowledge gap. Everyone in that room already agrees sound matters. It's an inactive gap. The system rewards whoever can defend this quarter and nobody in that meeting gets credit for an asset that plays off after they already move to the next campaign on the next role. And incentive gaps don't get closed by another article reminding teams that sound matters. They already believe that article they just can't spend against any wins in the meeting. The only way this changes is if someone reframes what's being defended in that room, not spend on sonic identity this quarter, which will lose every time. Instead, stop respending on new sound every single quarter, which is a cost argument, not a taste argument. And cost arguments are exactly what budget meetings are built to respond to. Here's a pushback we hear a lot, and it's fair one. We already invested in a great custom track for our last big launch. Isn't that solved? Not by itself, no. One track is not a system. If that composition never gets reused, extended, or referenced again next quarter, it's technically exclusive to you, but it behaves exactly like an expensive stock track. Played once, forgotten by the next campaign, replaced by whatever the next team decides sounds right. The value was never supposed to live in that one track. It was supposed to live in what that track becomes over the next 20 campaigns. The motif that shows up again in shorter cut, a different tempo, a quieter version behind a product demo, all still recognizable the same brand. At Dimulti Music, this is the exact gap client calls us into close. Not make us one good track, but make sure the track after this one still sound like it belongs to the same company. We actually broke down what that kind of system looks like in practice. The motif, the tempo choice, the instrumentation rules that keep consistent. Like on how a real audio logo is built, worth watching right after this if this the part you're stuck on. Because without that system in place, every yes to a new custom track this year quietly says a no to the compounding version of that same spend next year. So here's the number worth. Actually sitting with 61.9% is not a knowledge problem. It's what happens when good sound loses a budget meeting, campaign after campaign for long enough that it starts to look normal. If your start 3 campaigns every had their own spare music decision made by whoever happened to be closest to the deadline that week, you already know which side of that number you're on. The fix here is not a bigger one-time budget, and it's not another internal memo but about why sound matters. It's one decision made once to stop treating sound like a line item that resets every project and start treating it like the asset it was always supposed to be. Let's build something that doesn't reset every quarter. Something that's still unmistakably yours 3 campaigns from now.